Good afternoon, everybody. We are back. Why are we back? We had a live stream earlier today breaking down the motion to compel in Turtleboy's case. There's a motion to compel the additional communications that they did not see already. And apparently there are hundreds of thousands potentially of Michael Proctor, which the Commonwealth has already acknowledged exist. So they acknowledged it in the Brian Walsh case, the Miles King case, but they didn't acknowledge it in the Turtleboy case. So guess what? They have to acknowledge it and they have to turn it over. That's what Bederow's position was and is in that motion. Well, now I just got wind, thanks to all of my fans here or associates, colleagues, part of the channel who send me additional information and affidavits and motions and all that good stuff, which is greatly appreciated. Continue to do that because you guys drive the content here. So this is a supplemental filing to the motion to compel. Now, the first thing that I'll say is, as we're getting through this, is that I would expect to see perhaps a supplemental filing to the motion to dismiss based on what I'm reading in this supplemental affidavit to the motion to compel. So that is something that I'm going to be looking out for. Because remember, Turtleboy has a motion to dismiss that's pending that has to do with the grand jury proceedings and other Brady material that was not turned over. A lot of discovery that was not turned over. Well, this can definitely qualify as well as information that the Commonwealth sat on and did not turn over. So aside from this affidavit, which is a supplemental to the motion to compel, we may also see an affidavit as a supplemental filing in the motion to dismiss if they're able to do that at this point. If not, they're going to have to renew the motion and add this information in it. So that is just my opening thoughts on this as I read through it the first time. And now let's get right to this supplemental filing, which is just unbelievable. It just doesn't end. It just never ends. Continues. We keep seeing more shenanigans, more hiding information from the Commonwealth in Turtleboy's case. Seen a lot of that in Karen Reed case already. You all remember that one. But now it seems to be that this is a pattern or practice. So let's take a look at this affidavit, the supplemental filing by Mark Bederow. Okay, and I know that some of you want me to break down Alan Jackson's letter. I hope to do that. Maybe it's going to be on a different video today. But yeah, I was looking into that as well. A lot of stuff to talk about. So that's good. All right, here we go. Supplemental affidavit in support of the motion to compel. So if you guys missed my earlier stream breaking down the motion to compel, you can definitely go check that out before we see this. Or you can see this and then go check that out also. But this is a supplemental filing. So it's an additional filing. Mark Bederow, Mr. Bederow, an attorney admitted to practice law in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Pro Hoc Vice, affirms under penalty of perjury as follows. This affidavit is intended to supplement my affidavit and motion to compel dated October 24th, 2025, and is submitted as an additional factual support for the motion detailed in my prior affidavit. Shortly after my October 24th, 2025 affidavit and motion to compel was filed with the court, Corey Hopkins, a North Carolina attorney, provided me with documents that she had recently received from the Norfolk County DA's office as part of the lawsuit she filed against the DA after it ignored her prior public records request. So Corey Hopkins, by the way, I believe that her Twitter handle is Marbury versus Mad, a great follow that I am following her. So you can definitely follow her, an attorney from North Carolina. And she does these FOIA requests. And she's been hammering the Norfolk County DA's office to turn over these documents, which should be made public. And she's been getting the go around. So she had to actually file a lawsuit. So she's on this case. That's good. So if you follow her, you see all of her attempts and all the steps and hoops that she's going through in order to get these public records. Okay, so she finally, as a result of her lawsuit, got a hold of some documents and then turned them over to Mark Bederow. And Mark Bederow was like, hey, this is interesting. So therefore, he's supplementing his motion to compel with some of that production that Corey Hopkins was able to get. The documents Ms. Hopkins provided to me consisted of 4 emails from Massachusetts State Police Sergeant Yuri Buchanan to Detective Lieutenant Brian Tully and former MSP Trooper Michael Proctor. Now remember, the Commonwealth's position here is that Proctor was not involved in the investigation. He's not the investigating officer in the witness intimidation charges against Turtleboy. Now, we discussed in our last video, this earlier video that we did today, that really doesn't make a difference. Makes no difference whether the person is an investigating officer or not. If the person's a witness, which Proctor testified at the grand jury, well, then the prosecution's duty under Brady and Giglio and Rule 14 is to turn over any documents which could be exculpatory, which would include impeachment of witnesses. That is included in exculpatory documents. So that's an automatic discovery, meaning all these filings should really, in theory, not be necessary. But apparently with the Commonwealth, everything's necessary. You always have to file stuff in order to get your hands on exculpatory information. All right. The documents Ms. Hopkins provided to me consist of these 4 emails. Okay. 2 of the emails are dated July 28th, 2023, and 2 are dated July 29th, 2023. The July 28th, 2023 emails are titled McCabe Harassment and contain 2 versions of attachments titled McCabe Harassment.doc. I would think that has something to do with witness intimidation and harassment that Turtleboy is being charged with, right? The July 29th, 2023 emails are titled Albert Harassment and contain 2 versions of attachments titled Albert Harassment. The defense does not have copies of the 4 attachments. What a surprise. They did not turn over these emails to Turtleboy and to Mark Bederow. I'm informed by Ms. Hopkins that they were not included in the DA's production to her. So the attachments, meaning he got the emails. So you can't argue now. I mean, you could still argue that they didn't turn it over. Maybe they should be sanctioned. But now that he actually has the copies of the emails, okay, well, what do you want the court to do? You've got the copies one way or the next. Well, here what Mark Bederow was saying is that they didn't get the attachments to the emails. These docs that are titled McCabe Harassment and Albert Harassment, 2 versions, they did not get them. So that's not something that Corey Hopkins was able to get. The defense does not have copies of the 4 attachments described above. I'm informed by Ms. Hopkins that they were not included in the DA's production to her. The subject matter of the 4 emails and attachments relates to the MSP investigation of Mr. Carney. These documents are written statements of prosecution witnesses that are within the possession, custody, and control of the Commonwealth. As such, they indisputably are discoverable under Rule 14 of the Massachusetts Rules of Criminal Procedure. Right? These are very obviously discoverable and should have been turned over. They're subject to automatic discovery. Notwithstanding numerous defense requests for discovery and a court order directing the Commonwealth to disclose all automatic discovery under Rule 14 by May 8th, 2024. Okay, so that's May 8th, 2024. As of October 27th, 2025, the above described July 28th and 29th, 2023 emails and attachments have not been provided to the prosecution to the defense. On October 25th, and by the way, this is why it's a Brady violation, which would mean that it goes right back into the motion to dismiss. On October 25th, 2025, after my affidavit, a motion to compel was filed, highly regarded journalist Ted Daniel reported that in addition to possessing thousands of racist and possibly homophobic messages on his cellular phone, Mr. Proctor also maintained and possibly shared intimate images of third parties and shared the name and or confidential information about at least one alleged sexual assault victim. Okay, so this is what Ted Daniel reported. Apparently, that he's got some intimate images on his phone, Michael Proctor, and potentially shared them and confidential information about them and alleged sex assault victim with other people. If Mr. Proctor revealed the name of a sexual assault victim and or any confidential non-public information about a sexual assault allegation to a third party in a manner that was not necessary to the performance of his duties, if this was necessary, you got to share it with other police that are investigating it. Okay. We're all investigating the sexual assault. So then, yeah, you got to share them. But if he didn't, if he shared it to a third party who was not necessary to share it with, then he committed a crime punishable by up to 1 year in jail and by a fine of not more than $1,000 or both under that statute. If the intimate images Mr. Proctor possessed and or shared depicted Karen Reed, so this is all, again, a big if. Okay, let's not jump to conclusions here, but if these intimate images that Mr. Proctor has in his phone depict in any way Karen Reed, then Mr. Proctor may be subject to prosecution for perjury, given his sworn testimony at Ms. Reed's 2024 trial. You all remember that. So let's go down to footnote 2 here. Mr. Proctor testified that a text message he sent to his MSP superiors indicating that he had not discovered any nudes so far on Ms. Reed's phone was a joke. That was his testimony. It was just a bad joke. He denied looking for nudes of Ms. Reed. Mr. Proctor was adamant that he doesn't look for naked photos in anyone's phone. That's all from the transcript. So, if he really does have those naked or intimate images of Karen Reed, then he would be subject to prosecution for perjury. It goes without saying that if Mr. Proctor engaged in a pattern of unprofessional conduct in multiple investigations, to the extent that he may have even committed crimes by A, gossiping with friends and or family about confidential and sensitive police business, which served as one specification for his termination from MSP, and B, perjuring himself at Ms. Reed's trial about his disgraceful investigative conduct, such evidence is favorable to Mr. Carney's defense that the MSP investigation against him lacked integrity, was biased, and conducted in bad faith. Even if he was not named the lead investigator in Turtleboy's case, but still, if he was in contact with the investigators, he is a police officer, and he was somewhat involved in the investigation, well, then that is very obvious impeachment information that Turtleboy's team deserves. The Commonwealth's justification for refusing to disclose to the defense information in its possession, custody, or control that would substantially undermine Mr. Proctor's credibility is that he will not be called as a prosecution witness, and he didn't participate in the investigation. Remember that. That is what we just read earlier this morning. Right? He's not going to be called as a prosecution witness. That's what the Commonwealth claimed, which is why Cosgrove said we don't have to turn any of this over because, after all, we're not calling him as a witness, which, again, is neither here nor there. But also that he did not participate in the investigation. In addition to the evidence, that was Cosgrove's position. In addition to the evidence referenced in my October 24th, 2025 affidavit, the July 28th and 29th emails, and presumably their attachments, demonstrate that Mr. Proctor was involved in the MSP investigation of Mr. Carney. So don't pretend that he's just some third-party witness, uninterested party who just happened to have testified in the grand jury and had nothing to do with the investigation against Carney. Well, no, because we see from these emails, quite the opposite is true. On July 28th, 2023 at 6:33 p.m., Sergeant Buchanan provided Tully and Mr. Proctor with an investigative report detailing Mr. Carney's alleged harassment of Jennifer McCabe. Notably, Sergeant Buchanan specifically sought Tully's and Proctor's input if anything needed to be fixed in his report. Now, if you have nothing to do with the investigation, why is the investigating officer asking you if anything needs to be fixed with the report? And remember, Tully and Proctor are both on the email. On July 28th, 2023 at 6:50 p.m., Buchanan sent Tully and Mr. Proctor an updated and more accurate version of his report. On July 29th, 2023 at 6:18 p.m., the next day, Buchanan emailed Tully and Proctor an investigative report about Mr. Carney's alleged harassment of the Alberts. Once again, Buchanan solicited input from Tully and Mr. Proctor before he finalized his report. On July 29th, 2023 at 6:28 p.m., Buchanan provided Tully and Mr. Proctor with an updated report on the alleged harassment of the Alberts. These communications and requests for Mr. Proctor's investigative input occurred approximately 2 weeks after Mr. Proctor emailed Sergeant Buchanan, Tully, and Fanning and Lally, in which he disparaged Mr. Carney and provided investigative information to the rest of the prosecution team. So what do you know? 2 weeks after Proctor sent this email to Buchanan and Tully and Fanning and Lally and provided information to the rest of the prosecution team, then they respond with, Buchanan responds 2 weeks later with, okay, here's the report. Does anything need to be fixed? This is what's going on with the investigation into Turtleboy. By Mark A. Bederow. So that's that. And then take a look, in case you haven't seen these emails yet, you can take a look at the emails right here. Part of the motion or the affidavit, supplemental. Here we go. Here's the email from who? Buchanan to who? Tully, Proctor, and the subject is McCabe harassment. Please see attached report. And this is from Buchanan. I'm sorry for the delay, but the DA had me helping trial with the responses to those media outlets. I will start work on the Alberts now. Let me know. So this is McCabe, and now he's going to start getting to work on the Alberts. Let me know what, if anything, you want me to fix. Also, I left the case number out since we have not generated one yet. Let me know if you want me to do that or just wait for you to do it. That's one email. Let's see the next email. Again, from Buchanan to Tully and Proctor, McCabe harassment. Please disregard last version. I had to add something. This is the more accurate one. Continuing down. Exhibit F, another email from Buchanan to Tully and Proctor again, and this one's subject is Albert harassment. See attached. Let me know if I missed something that needs to be added. Printed documentation will be included. And then finally, one last email from Buchanan to Tully and Proctor. Again, Albert harassment. Actually forgot to mention the live episodes. This is the updated version. Sorry for keep doing this. So Proctor is not included in these emails by accident. There are 4 emails, and this is Buchanan looking for input from Proctor and Tully. So yeah, I would think that this is very relevant to the investigation into Turtleboy. So it just doesn't end. It just doesn't end. It just continues. The live episodes that they're looking into, the McCabe harassment, the Albert harassment, asking Proctor if anything needs to be fixed. I mean, is this someone who's not involved in the investigation? We're just going to include him on the emails just for what, why not? Just going to include Proctor on the emails. So yeah, and I think everyone wants to know about the intimate images that Proctor may have had on his phone. Who are those images of? Are they of Karen Reed? When he was looking through nudes, or what his joke was that he was looking for nudes, he was actually looking for nudes. Did he find any? What did he do with them? Did he share them? So this is the latest on this motion to compel. So Commonwealth again showing off their incompetence here and trying to hide the ball. And it's not helpful for them. You would think that after the Karen Reed case, they would have just figured we should walk away from this and try to win back our credibility, but they keep digging themselves in deeper and deeper and just running straight into the fire. So they got to really get their stuff together, and they should really just drop off the Turtleboy case. Just drop it. Offer him maybe a sweetheart deal, and then you can say, hey, we got him on something, and then that's it. Just walk away. But if they're going to just keep on with this prosecution, we're going to keep seeing more things like this. Is this really what they want? So I didn't see any reference to any fridges in there. So I'm not sure if there's a fridge involved or not, if that makes a difference to all of you watching. But it was just intimate images as far as what we've seen. So that is the latest on the supplemental filing by Mark Bederow. And that is why we had to come back, because we missed it. I mean, I just got it after I finished my earlier stream. I was like, oh boy, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So, all right. I mean, we'll see what ends up happening. They've got a lot of issues right now. They've got a disqualification issue with Cosgrove. They got a motion to dismiss hanging over their heads. I mean, they've got a lot to deal with on this case. And again, it would seem like the most sense, definitely PR-wise, to just walk away. But they probably should have done that with the Karen Reed case also, and they didn't. So maybe they would have learned their lesson, but they haven't. All right. Well, that's going to be it for the Turtleboy case today. I know that I still have to get to Alan Jackson's scathing email or letter to add, Commissioner Cox to the Brady list. We're going to talk about that probably later today. And we're also continuing to watch the Casey Anthony trial. So we're going to continue with that also this afternoon. All right. Thank you all for joining. That's it for today. Before you leave, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and we will see you next time.